Hey guys, I'm so sorry for the delay here. So I did not realize people were actually going to watch that first video. It was more of a trial just to see if I had anybody interested in it, and apparently I do. So I might as well just keep it going. I'm gonna just start kind of pick up where I left off. I did not take videos because I didn't think I was going to continue doing YouTube videos, but just for the sake of documentation and for those of y'all who are interested in following me, I'm gonna post all the pictures that I took along the way, and I'll describe like each process. And moving forward, I'll try to take some more videos and keep it a little bit more up to date. I did have another kid, so it's I'm not able to work on the Skiff as much as I'd like. Because of that, 2 kids is a lot. If you don't already have kids, just a heads up. And so picking up where we left off, I have all my stations on my jig. I've got my flanges up. Everything is in line, quadruple checked measurements. They're all equally spaced and everything looks good. So you'll see here I did go ahead and use some blue painter's tape, and I put that on all of the stations. This is really important to put painter's tape on all of your stations, on every edge, because you will be gluing your core material, your foam down onto your jig. You're going to be screwing it as well, but the glue you don't want to stick that to your station. It will make it really hard to separate your hull, when you're done and you're lifting your hull off of your jig. So that blue painter's tape will allow you to peel it right off of all of your stations. So definitely do that. So next you'll see I'm starting to get my core material down on my spray rails and some of my chines. I was able to take the plans that I was sent when I purchased the plans and blow those up, and also send them to that architectural plan print company, and they were able to print out really long sheets of paper to scale that I was able to template these these flanges for the spray rails onto. I am using carbon core 3/4 inch 80-pound density foam core, very similar to Definicel, pretty much the same thing, just slightly less expensive. And so you'll see I have these flanges on, or the chine panels on to the stations. I hold those down with some drywall screws and then glue all the joints with Gorilla Foam glue. So that's a great way to do it. This is where that glue or the painter's tape comes in handy. So here's a side shot of how those chine panels are laying down. They fit right up next to the stations, and then there's a little bit of an overhang, so it'll allow you to stick some foam panels up on like planks up underneath those leading edges. So once you get all of these big main panels down, then you can begin to do your planking. But it's really important to get your dimensions right, and if you are templating it, cut it accurately and double check the scale and make sure everything matches up. So here's another shot of my boat. This is the aft end. I have my I do have my my transom on now. I made that out of Kusa, and I'll show you how to do that too. So you'll see here I've started my planking. The best way to do these those bow large planks is to template them using some paper or some glue sticks with with some kind of templating material. That it is curved. It is a total pain in the butt. You'll find out, but getting those accurate is really important. And here's a side shot of that. So I started from the bottom and worked my way up. The smaller planks above that, or I guess I would say below that, towards the water line, are a little bit easier to work with. Those big ones, it's just a really good idea to template those as best as you can and then trace those out and fit them up as snugly as you can. The smaller the gaps between your chines and your planks, the better. I didn't take all of my pictures in landscape mode, unfortunately, so some of them are kind of cropped weird. I'll do that in the future. But I have started planking the hull here, and you'll see I am using drywall screws to screw the planks onto the stations. It's really important to minimize the gaps here. This foam does have the ability to bend and flex. So if you do about 3-inch wide planks, like Chris says, it really helps. Here's another shot of the planking, and it's going on over the bow, and I'm just working my way up the hull. This is an important shot right here. Looking at it, you want to get those planks to meet center line as much as you possibly can. There is a little bit of wiggle room when you have some sand, when you sand and fair the hull later after glassing it. But the straighter and more accurate you can get those planks now, the easier your fiberglassing will be, the easier your fairing will be. Take my advice here and spend your time, on the details and getting this stuff accurate as you possibly can. As I work my way up the hull, you'll see I'm trying to get as long of planks as I possibly can. You want to go from station to station and cut them off at the station so that the planks are connecting to a station together. Otherwise, you might create unnecessary humps in your hull if the planks are trying to connect between stations. So it's really important to do like a half a plank to a half a plank butt connection on a station. You'll see I'm still working my way up the hull, slowly closing in that gap. Just templating, measuring, trying to get it as accurate as I can. I wasn't as accurate as I should have been. So this is the best way I found that you can template your transom. I did make my transom out of a few pieces of Kusa. Kusa just to me is stronger, and it's a great transom material. So you get a big piece of cardboard, and then you locate your ends and I use pieces of balsa wood strips, and then I hot glue those to the ends of where I want my transom pieces to be. So it gives you a really accurate form of how to make a transom. And then once you cut it out, exactly to this template, it'll be perfectly accurate. And then here's a shot of my transom. Again, the proportions of the photos are kind of off, unfortunately, but you'll see that my transom is 3 pieces, 1 large piece in the middle with 2 side pieces. And it follows the taper of the hull, the chine, of the hull, and then goes right into my curved transom. What I'll show you coming up is how I did my transom curves. So this is where my transom meets the curved transom. I elected to do the curved transom because I think it just looks way better. And so it's just, fitting pieces. I did taper the edges of those pieces so they fit as flush as they possibly could. It is a great look. Here's my whiskey plank. It was my last plank of the whole boat. I'm done planking at this point, and so now I have just a ton of sanding to do. So here's a shot overhead. of my messy tent, skiff shop. So I'm now going through and trying to fill some gaps with the foaming glue. It's not the greatest gap filler. It does foam all right, but it runs pretty bad, but you'll see some of that foam kind of building up. It is very easy to sand and cut away. You'll see some of the gaps here. My little boy is doing some sanding on it, helping me out, which is great. But if you see those gaps, don't worry about that. You're going to come back in and fill those in later. But you want to make sure all of these planks are glued to each other as best as possible, because you're going to have to go in and remove all of those drywall screws, and you don't want those planks moving. Here's a shot of the bow. It is okay to have to mess your measurements up a little bit. You have plenty of room with your sanding and your fairing to compensate for all of that. So you just want to get as close as you can, but this foam is just really, really easy to work with. You'll see on the left there how that glue is help filling those gaps. So next, what you're going to do is take out all of your screws, and then you're going to make up some putty. I'm using epoxy on the hull, so I use silica, or actually Q-cells, and mix it in with epoxy, and I'm using that to fill all of my gaps. You'll see all of the epoxy filling my gaps there. So you want to go in and fill every possible gap that you can. So filling those gaps will then allow you to sand the whole hull. That Q-cell epoxy mixture is also really easy to sand. I highly recommend that. Here's another shot from down the length. I have cleaned up the shop a little bit, my tent. And so I'm filling all the gaps as much as I can and removing every screw. You might miss a screw, which is a pain, but so now you can see I've started to sand it, and you'll see how the whole thing actually stands out really nice. You can get your entry edge and everything really nice and smooth. Just keep sanding and sanding. I'm using 40 grit sandpaper on this, and you want to kind of round over the corners and get it sanded out as flush as you possibly can. Rounding over those sharp corners is important when you go to lay your glass, because your cloth, especially if you're doing epoxy and you have to use all cloth and can't use chop strand, it's really hard to go over those radiuses, so you need to round them over. You can sharpen them up later when you're fairing. But that's pretty much it for this, guys. I will be sure to keep uploading videos and help y'all as much as I can. Cheers.